Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Reporting. Affirmative. Awaiting order. Reporting.
Yes,
Awaiting
sir.
orders.
Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Reporting orders.
Reporting. Acknowledged.
Reporting. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Acknowledged. At once. Vehicle
Affirmative.
reporting.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Reporting. At once. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Vehicle reporting.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Vehicle reporting. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Reporting. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Moving out. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Moving out.
Door button, boss.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Reporting. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
I hear you.
Vehicle acknowledged. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Yes, sir.
Howdy. Huh?
Vehicle reporting.
Awaiting order. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Vehicle
Affirmative.
reporting.
Acknowledged. At once. Very well. Vehicle reporting. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Vehicle reporting.
Yes, sir.
Howdy.
Reporting. Affirmative. Vehicle reporting. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Door vehicle affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Reporting.
Reporting. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Awaiting orders. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Vehicle acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Reporting. Affirmative. Yes, sir.
Waiting orders. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. 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 Awaiting orders. Acknowledged. Vehicle reporting. Reporting. Agreed.
Huh? Rise and shine. Door button.
Awaiting orders. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Reinforcements have arrived.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Vehicle reporting. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Reporting. Affirmative.
Howdy. I hear you. Door button, boss.
Vehicle reporting. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. At once.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Reporting. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Reporting very well.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Unit lost.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Unit lost.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Ready and waiting very well.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Medic reporting. I hear you. I'll get my ring. Yes, sir.
Awaiting orders. Acknowledged.
Awaiting order. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Reporting. Acknowledged. Reporting. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Awaiting orders. Yes, sir.
At once. Affirmative.
Awaiting orders. Acknowledged.
Vehicle reporting. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Ready and waiting. Agreed. Of course. Very well. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Vehicle reporting. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Vehicle reporting.
Reinforcements
Yes,
have
sir.
arrived.
Yes, sir. Awaiting orders.
Yes, sir. At once.
Yes,
Reporting.
sir.
At once.
Agreed. Reporting. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. 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 Affirmative.
Reporting. Affirmative.
Reporting. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Awaiting order. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Acknowledged. At once.
Vehicle reporting.
Reporting.
Yes, sir. Reporting.
Awaiting orders.
Vehicle reporting. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Yes, sir.
Affirmative.
Yes, sir.
Reporting. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Yes, sir.
Unit
Acknowledged.
lost.
Acknowledged.
Unit lost.
Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Unit lost.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative.
Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Vehicle
Unit
affirmative.
lost.
Reporting. Very well.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. 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 Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Ready and waiting.
Yes, sir.
Very well. Agreed. Howdy. Rise and shine. Sir.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Reporting. Of course.
Unit lost.
At once. Very at once. Affirmative. At once.
Unit
Agree.
lost.
Affirmative. At once.
Awaiting orders.
Very well.
Awaiting orders. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged.
Unit lost.
Waiting orders.
Affirmative.
Unit
Acknowledged.
lost.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Waiting orders. Affirmative. Reporting.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. At once. Affirmative. Of course. Affirmative. Awaiting orders. Reporting.
Unit
At
lost.
once. Affirmative. Awaiting orders. Affirmative. At once.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged.
Unit lost.
Reporting. Acknowledged.
Unit lost.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Unit lost.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Moving out.
Unit lost. Unit lost.
Yes, sir.
Unit
Reporting.
lost.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Vehicle
Unit
reporting.
lost.
Reporting. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Mission accomplished.